The show starts with the elf Galadriel telling us about the world, specifically Valinor, good, full of light and beauty. We see memories of her as a little girl who really looked up to her brother. When Mordor destroyed their home, they fought back, and this was the first war that they'd fought in Middle-earth. The war lasted centuries, and Middle-earth was left in ruin. Even when Mordor was eventually defeated, a lot of lives were lost, and Mordor's orcs were spreading under the leadership of Mordor's devoted servant, Sauron. Galadriel's brother sought to kill Sauron, but Sauron found him and killed him. So Galadriel takes over the pledge to destroy Sauron. She spends many years trying to hunt him, and so much time passes that most believe that Sauron is no longer a threat. Galadriel, who is commander of the Northern armies, is on this extended mission, but her army is losing faith. They want to go home, abort the mission. Galadriel is determined to follow the trail though. They eventually go into a cave and they see a mark, the same mark that Sauron had left on her brother. She thinks that this is a signal to the orcs and that evil is just laying in wait. It's not gone. Eventually though, finally outnumbered by her soldiers who want to return home, Galadriel and the elves make their way to Lindon, which is the capital of the High Elves. There, her best friend and politician, elf, Elrond, is very happy to see her. She tells him that she knows that Sauron is back. He reminds her that she defied the king by going as far as she did, and she shouldn't test him. The king honors the soldiers for all the work that they've done, and to him, the days of war are now over and they are triumphant. To thank the soldiers, the highest honor will be bestowed upon them. They'll be granted passage across the sea to the Grey Havens to dwell for all eternity in Valinor. They get to go home. Galadriel tells Elrond that she'll go and find Sauron alone if she must. Meanwhile, in the Southlands, there is an issue of poison grass. Well, it's more a patch of poison grass nearby, and the humans don't think this is of much concern. We meet Arondir, an elf who is investigating the issue. It seems this land of men is under the protection or guard of the elves. These elves are known as watchwardens. The humans don't like this, and they tell Arondir that one day their king will return for them. He's quite friendly though with the local healer Bronwyn, and soon Arondir finds out that his outpost in the Southlands is going to be disbanded because remember, the elf king has declared that the days of war are over, so there is no threat and no reason for the elves to be there anymore. Arondir says that he's been stationed there for 79 years and he's grown accustomed to it. He might not be in a rush to leave. Also, there's Bronwyn. He's told by one of his fellow watchmen that even though it was the ancestors of the people of the Southlands who were aligned with Mordor, that darkness still runs in their veins today. Arondir goes to say goodbye to Bronwyn, and it looks like he's about to say more when he's interrupted. A farmer brings a cow whose udders produce a black goo. Both Bronwyn and Arondir decide to go to the place the cow was grazing, Hordern, and it just so happens that the people in that town were known for being loyal to Mordor. They arrive in Hordern to see that it's burning, and then we all see what look like meteors headed for the earth, and they can be seen everywhere as far as Lindon, where the elves are. Meanwhile, Bronwyn's son Theo finds something in the barn, a half sword, and it seems to have some kind of power. Elrond is invited to work on a project with one of the greatest elven goldsmiths, Lord Celebrimbor. Meanwhile, Galadriel is on the elf ship headed to their forever land, and she decides at the last minute, well, she has decided already, but she does jump out of the ship and into the ocean instead of passing over into the other side. Just then the king picks up a leaf and it disintegrates in his hand. Perhaps they haven't quite triumphed over evil as he'd previously thought. The third storyline we have is a group of traveling hobbits. They call themselves Harfoots, and among them, a girl named Nori and her best friend Poppy. After the meteor shower-like event, Nori spots a person who looks like he just fell out of the sky, and she goes over to investigate. In episode 2, Nori goes closer to the sleeping man and he momentarily wakes in a screaming panic before passing out again. She and Poppy decide then that they can't just leave him there, so they transport him from the site where he crash landed to somewhere they can keep an eye on him, somewhere safer. Bronwyn and Arendor survey the damage at Hordern and they find that there are no bodies there, but there does appear to be a tunnel leading somewhere. Bronwyn goes goes back to the Southlands to warn the others while Arindor explores more. In the realm of the elven smiths, Elrond is getting prepared for his big project with Lord Celebrimbor, who tells him that he wants to build something very powerful, a tower, and he wants it to be done by the spring. Elrond suggests asking some help from the dwarfs then for this big project. The Prince of the Dwarves, Durin, is a friend of Elrond's, and he suspects they'll be welcomed warmly and get access to the dwarfs' workshops. This could be a good alliance. Eventually Elrond is allowed in, but he has to go through a challenge first, and it's very clear that his old friend is not pleased to see him. Galadriel, meanwhile, out at sea, finds a raft of men who pull her up on board. After another mishap, everyone is separated, and Galadriel and Halbrand are the last two standing. He eventually tells Galadriel that it was the orcs that chased him from his home. So the issue that Durin has is that Elrond hasn't been a friend to him in 20 years. He wasn't there to see the birth of his children. Elrond didn't come to his wedding. Now he only comes round when he wants something. Eventually Elrond is invited to stay for dinner and they do make up. But Durin's father, the Dwarf King, doesn't trust Elrond and he thinks that he's after something else, hiding his true motives. Arindor is exploring the tunnel and he finds claw marks in the walls and a talon. He manages to just about escape before being possibly attacked by something. Back at the homestead, Theo and Bronwyn are hiding and one of the orcs, or a creature anyway, comes looking for its sword in the barn, the sword that Theo had found in the basement. They manage to kill the creature and Bronwyn uses its head to show the rest of the villagers that danger is near and they're to evacuate the village post-haste and head for the tower. As he's packing, Theo takes the broken sword out and a bit of its blood seeps into it and kind of awakens it. In episode 3, it turns out that Arondir was captured by some orcs and he's brought to their lair. There he sees some of the other Watchwarden elves. They're being enslaved by the orcs in honor of somebody named Adar, and they're in a labor camp. Galadriel and Halbrand make it onto another ship, and they've been taken to the island kingdom of Numenor. The men of the island stood with the elves during the war with Mordor, and for that they were awarded the island. They meet the queen and Galadriel asks for ships so that they can continue onto Middle-earth, but they're held up in Numenor while the queen, Mithril, and her people decide what to do. The main captain, Elendil, descended from nobility himself, has a son, Isil, who's in a kind of sea army doing some kind of training for the sea trials which are going to take place in 9 days. We learn that elves haven't set foot on Numenor and Elendil bringing them there was a kind of treason. The people aren't happy, the queen isn't happy, but he didn't have a choice but to save them. As he says, the sea brought them into his path and the sea is always right. Arondir learns that Mordor has a successor named Adar and the orcs are after something, a weapon, and they're destroying villages in their path, in their search for it. One day when the elves start fighting back, they get into a scuffle with the orcs and Hanor, one of the other watchmen, gets killed, which devastates Arondir. This is also at least the second elf that's killed in front of him. Another was stabbed in the neck earlier. Galadriel and Elendil read of a plan for the big bads, Sauron and his disciples, the orcs, or as we know, somebody named Adar now, to create a land of their own and thrive there. They realize that Sauron has returned and that the Southlands being in danger is just the beginning. Nori finally gets caught having smuggled the wizard man with the rest of the Half-Foots, and the rest of the Half-Foots kind of reluctantly invite him to travel with their group. Isil tells his father later that he wants to defer the sea trials. Elendil is not happy about this, and by the way, Captain Elendil also has a daughter, Ariarian, who has been made an apprentice in the Builders Guild. Galadriel discovers, she guesses that Halbrand is the lost king of the Southlands. He's reluctant to take up that mantle, but she wants him to go with her to Middle-earth, to the Southlands. At the end of the episode, Arondir is brought to Adar, but the reveal of his face isn't clear before the credits roll. In episode 4, the Queen Muriel has a dream about Numenor being destroyed. The Builders Guild and some of the villagers are also against Galadriel being there, and they seem to think that this might open the door to more elves coming to the island. Galadriel asks the Queen Muriel to be allies now that Sauron is back. Isil sabotages something in training, and not only does he get kicked out of training, which was his intention, but his two friends get kicked out as well. Meanwhile, Adar makes his appearance and Arondir discovers that he speaks Elven. He tells Arondir to deliver a message to the men in the watchtower. Remember, this is where the Southlanders have gone to stay safe. Adar knows that they're there. Theo goes back to the village looking for food to bring back to the watchtower and he gets into a fight with an orc who wants the sword from him. Meanwhile, Elrond gets the sense that Durin is hiding something from him, so he goes deep into the mines to explore. Durin asks Elrond to swear an oath that he won't tell a soul about what he's about to tell him. Elrond swears the oath, and Durin tells him that they found a new ore, maybe more precious than gold. It's very dangerous to mine though, so the king has restricted its mining. This ore is called Mithril, and it's actually known to the elves, even though at this point it's a new discovery for the dwarfs. More on that in the coming episodes. Queen Miriel takes Galadriel to a globe called a Palantir and asks her to touch it. It's a seeing stone, and when Galadriel touches it, she sees Numenor's future and it's being destroyed. The queen then sends her away. The people are already revolting at the fact that Galadriel is there, and Galadriel is still trying to convince her to fight alongside the elves once more, but at this time, she still hasn't convinced the queen. Arondir eventually comes to Theo's aid, and just then the sun starts to rise and the orcs can't go into the sun, so he, Bronwyn and Theo manage to get to relative safety. Arondir eventually tells Bronwyn the message from Adar, that the people may live if they forsake all claims to the land and swear fealty to him. One of the villagers finds out that Theo took the sword, and he has a mark from when he held it as well. He tells Theo that it's not just any sword, it's power, made for their ancestors by their master Sauron, and he tells Theo that he should save his strength for what's coming. By the way, this man is on the side of Sauron. Meanwhile, one of the orcs tells Adar that the sword is in the tower. At the end of the episode, as Galadriel is sailing off, the queen decides to ride herself and accompany Galadriel back to Middle-earth. She saw the petals coming off of a tree. This was the sign that she needed. It was also quite similar to the dream that she had of Numenor being destroyed. Among the men who volunteered to serve and accompany Galadriel with the queen are Captain Elendil's son Isil and his two friends. In episode 5, we see 3 wizard-like beings who happen upon the site where the man fell from the sky. Well, it seems that they were searching for it and him. Bronwyn tells the people of Adar's message, and she asks who will stand with her and fight. One of the villagers, though, spearheads a group of rebels that don't want to fight the enemy. Remember, that alliance to Morgoth still runs in their veins because of their ancestors. Galadriel tells the queen that Halbrand will be with them, and he tells her that he used her. She counters that she managed to get ships and 500 men to save his people, so maybe he used her. The king meanwhile warns the queen, his daughter, not to go to Middle-earth because all that awaits her there is darkness. One day the Harfoots are about to be attacked by hellhound-looking orc dogs, and the stranger, this wizard, uses his power to save them. So the elves and the dwarves are celebrating their union, and afterwards Elrond confronts the king that maybe he had ulterior motives for sending him on this project. The king tells him of a precious ore that has been lost, but the story goes that an elven warrior poured his light into a tree to protect it, and at the same time, on the other side, a Belroth of the Morgoth poured all of his hatred into the same tree to destroy it. This resulted in a power that seeped down into the roots, resulting in the ore. The king wants to know if the dwarfs found this ore, but Elrond swore an oath not to tell. The king shows him that the tree is deteriorating, and with it, the light of the elves is fading. The elves need this ore. Lord Celebrimbor tells Elrond that this Mithril is the elves' only hope. If they get enough of it, they can bathe the elves in the light of the Valor that could save them. Elrond tells Durin that without it, they'll either need to abandon their home or they will perish. Their souls will dwindle into nothing. So the group of men loyal to Sauron breaks away from the villagers from the Southlands, and they go off to pledge their loyalty to Adar. In order to do this, Adar orders one of the men to take the life of a young man. Theo eventually shows the Sauron sword to Arondir, and he says that he's seen it before, and it's also a key to something. At the end of the episode, the army for Numenor sets sail for Middle-earth. In episode 6, Adar gives a speech to his children, the orcs, and the men among them, amping them up for the coming fight. They head to the tower and it begins, but Arondir is instrumental in his attack against them, buying the villagers more time. He later tries to destroy the Sauron sword, but he can't, so he hides it. Arondir and Bronwyn have a romantic moment before the big fight and they kiss. Eventually the evening comes and there is a battle and the villagers are victorious until Arondir discovers that they've actually killed men in orc costumes. They were fighting their own this whole time, the ones that had aligned themselves with Adar, but still human. In the ensuing confusion, while they let their guard down, this is when Adar launches another attack and Bronwyn is severely injured, but she survives. Many do not. While this is happening, we see that the army of Numenor, led by Galadriel and Erendil, is on its way. Adar demands to know where the sword is, but Arondir doesn't want to give it away. So Adar starts killing people until Theo reveals its location and gives it to him. Another big battle ensues when the Numenor army fights against the orcs. Adar tries to escape using the chaos as a distraction, but Galadriel goes after him, and so does Halbrand. Galadriel captures Adar, and we hear of his origin then. Elves who were taken by Morgoth, who were tortured and twisted, he's one of them. He's one of the Sons of the Dark, the first orcs. Adar corrects her then and says that it's actually pronounced Uruk. He tells her that Sauron wanted to heal Middle-earth, that he sought to craft a power over flesh. But something was missing, a shadow of dark knowledge that remained hidden from him no matter how much he killed. He claims that he killed Sauron, but Galadriel doesn't believe this. He also tells her that his children, the orcs, have hearts and they're worthy of a life and a home. He tells her that soon the land will be theirs. Galadriel vows to kill every last one of them. The language is vaguely genocidal, but they do make several references in the show to the darkness that has touched Galadriel in her quest to defeat Sauron. She's about to kill Adar, but Halbrand stops her. Eventually, the people do embrace him as their true king of the Southlands. Theo tells Arondir that when he held the sword, he felt powerful, and Arondir tells him that he should rid himself of it. And he hands the sword taken from Adar, telling Theo to give it to someone from Numenor to be tossed into the sea on their way home. Theo sees then that this isn't the sword. Adar managed to swap them out, and he gave the sword to one of the men, and the one that Galadriel had confiscated acted as a diversion prop, basically. The real sword was given to one of the men aligned with Adar, and remember Arondir said that the sword was a key? Well, this man uses it to unlock something, and immediately the ground starts shaking, dams start breaking. Before all hell breaks loose, we see Isil and his father having a bonding moment, and then at the end of the episode, a volcano erupts and lava rains down onto the village. In episode 7, we're in the aftermath of the volcano eruption. Galadriel and Theo are alive. The others are trying to escape from the still falling rubble. Unfortunately, Elendir's son Isil doesn't make it out alive. He will say later in the episode that he regrets bringing Galadriel on board, and he should have left her in the sea when he found her, but this is said in his grief in the moment. The Queen Miriel survives, but she's lost her eyesight. She says she only sees grey, and she tells Elendir to guide her so that nobody notices. The Harfoots make it to their destination, the Grove, and they see burned patches of land. Trees are dead. The effects of the volcano are felt there. And not only that, some of the Harfoots are aware that this means that evil or darkness is coming. Elrond makes his plea to the king of the dwarves to supply them with the things that they need, like grain and timber for the next 5 centuries. In exchange, elves can get access to their mines and mine Mithril. The king doesn't want to help them, though. He thinks it's too dangerous. Durin defies his father's orders, and he and Elrond start mining the Mithril anyway. The king does find out, and eventually Elrond has to leave. Meanwhile, the 3 beings in white are getting closer to the wizard. They have a confrontation with the Harfoots, and they set their dwelling on fire. In the aftermath, Halbrand is quite injured, and Galadriel says that his wounds need elvish medicine. At the end of the episode, Adar claims the land, and he decides to call it Mordor, because as he points out, the Southlands is a name of a place that no longer exists. In episode 8, the final episode of season 1, the beings finally track down the wizard and they kneel before him, referring to him as Lord Sauron. Celebrimbor wonders if there is a way that they can work with a bit of Mithril that they do have. Galadriel comes to Lindon with Halbrand, and while he's being tended to by the elves, Elrond apologizes for doubting Galadriel. Halbrand, making a recovery, talks to Celebrimbor about his project with the Mithril, asking if he shouldn't maybe combine it with other metals. He takes a great interest in Celebrimbor's work, and when Celebrimbor presents his ideas to the king, suggesting that they make a crown, the king does not think that they have time. But in passionately fighting for his project, Celebrimbor uses the words that the items would have power over flesh. That phrase is the same phrase that Ada used when talking to Galadriel, and she becomes suspicious of Halbrand. They get to work and Galadriel sends somebody to retrieve some scrolls with family trees in the catacombs. She wants to trace Halbrand's ancestry. The beings tell the wizard that they want to bring him to the land of Rune. He will eventually learn to command his power and make every living thing his slave. He ends up banishing the beings to where they came from, and they realize then that he's not Sauron, he's the other, they say, the Istar, they call him. In doing so, he also saves the Harfoots. Galadriel finally gets the scrolls and discovers that there is no king of the Southlands. The last man to bear the crest that Elbrand has died over 1,000 years ago, and he had no heir. He then reveals himself to her. He says that he's had many names over the years. This is the big twist. This is Sauron, and he shows her an eerie image of what their future could be like if she would be his queen. He wouldn't be the Dark Lord with her by his side, he says. Together they can save Middle-earth, and when she asks, save or rule, he says that there is no difference. So yeah, Galadriel has basically let the fox into the henhouse. Elrond later also sees the scrolls. Nori meanwhile decides that for now her place is with the wizard, so she breaks with the Harfoots, with their blessing of course, to head out for adventures with him. Then we finally get to see the 3 rings are complete. So the Song of the Lord of the Rings mentions 3 wings for the elven kings, 7 for the dwarves, 9 for the mortal men, and 1 for the Dark Lord. I'm not a Lord of the Rings buff, so I don't know where and when the Frodo ring comes in. The Dark Lord's ring, I guess. But anyway, at the end of the episode, we see that Sauron is headed for Mordor. And that is the end of this Lord of the Rings recap. Thank you for watching.